Hello. Hello,
Hey,
everyone.
Jen.
We are live and so happy to have Pradeep with me. For anyone who's joining us, we're like right on the dot. So please tell us where you're coming from. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, anything you'd like to share, we'd love to hear from the audience and answer any questions you might have. But let's see. Don't have any comments yet. So, Pradeep, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself to just kind of kick us off until we get some more people?
Sure. A little bit of background about myself. So I've spent close to 5 years in sales. Like 3 times I've managed and scaled revenue teams to multi-million dollars, and pretty much a self-built person, right? So the reason was because I was just thrown into sales. Like sales is not something that I was passionate about or something that I started with, but I pretty much didn't know what else I would do if not for selling, right? So that's why my first job was selling point of sales software to people in UAE, right? And then the second job was selling a subscription product, right, to customers in North America and Europe and all of that, right? And pretty much right now I'm an ally as the director of sales, leading the global SMB division and the Europe and UK initiatives, right? And on top of that, I run SaaSsales.io, right? So this is pretty much about me.
Yeah, and that's actually how we met, which, I love. You had invited me to, and then after getting the article, you invited me to be a premium author, which I really appreciated. I've had lots of different organizations request me to write articles, and sometimes typically what happens is they want a specific topic, or they want a topic that I'm not necessarily interested in writing about. I want to choose my topics and put out my own voice, right? And so that was so interesting to me that you reached out to me and that you gave me that opportunity to really talk about whatever I wanted to talk about. And so
Totally.
I mean, I love it. So it got me really curious about why you created SaaSsales.io.
Got it. Great question, Jen. Right. So as I told, the first time I joined sales as an SDR, right? So and then I was trying to pretty much figure out everything by myself, right?
Mhm.
And the hardest part of that was finding mentors to coach me for that, right? My job, my was hey, you know what? Just go figure it out, right? And I was trying to figure it out, and the only place I can go naturally was Google. So I Googled it up, right? And I found many different platforms, right, where there were really quality content, big content, and then I was like, okay, let me just try this out, right? And I took one template and I used this on my email with a couple of my prospects, right? I just got close to 15 to 20% open rate. That's all, and all of them ghosted me. I was trying to wonder why, right? And then now I realize in retrospection that if I had seen that, right, thousand others, millions others would have seen that, right? So the framework, once it is out, right, that can be replicated and improvised on, right? But when you just throw a template out, right, then the hardest, the easiest work for everybody will be like, hey, you know what? I'll just throw this template to my prospects and then see them if it works, right? So, and pretty much after that, I tried many different other portals. I even paid for a few subscriptions to learn about sales and to see what should I do. Most of them failed, right? And then 1 year before, 1 to 2 years before starting SaaSsales.io, all I was doing was just going on LinkedIn and observing the content over there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was all quality content, and it was like a repository of quality tactical information available that can help any salesperson, right? This was across different phases of my journey, right? The time when I was a salesperson myself, and the time when I was a sales leader, all of the mistakes that I did, right? I regret doing it right now, but had I been exposed to that content earlier, right, I would have been pretty much not me, what I was before, right? So that is why I started SaaS Sales.io, right? To pretty much not focus on SEO at all, right? So it might sound crazy, like, hey, what is this guy doing? He's trying to build SaaS Sales.io, but he's not trying to focus on SEO. Yeah, because the moment I try to focus on SEO, I'll put a word limit on the authors. I'll pick a topic for the authors, right? Just like how Jen said a few moments ago that the authors here have complete freedom to choose the topic that they think will be useful for the community, will be helpful for the community, right? For example, video prospecting is a very big thing right now, right? Today, it's a really big thing. And if you do an SEO search on video prospecting, you will just get 100 to 1,500 searches per month. Like,
Yeah.
which blog will love to like post content or video prospecting? No, they don't want to, because either they are tying it to their product or service that they offer. They just want to boost their rankings up, right? Or they just want to like advertise, right? How many times you've just gone to the content and then felt that, hey, the whole content is pointing to a different direction, right? It's like leading on to buy something, right? So that is the reason why I fundamentally started SaaS Sales.io, right? So to deliver quality content where salespeople can really feel the impact of it, the value from it.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing. I remember, funny enough, the last like in-person event that I went to, like networking event, was actually sponsored by a company where it was for like an inside sales profession like organization. And so this is in person, and they split us up into groups and gave us a challenge. The thing is, the challenge, the answer was always the product that they were suggesting, that the sponsor, that was always the answer. And so it was funny because I'm like, okay, well, this is entirely shocking. This had an opportunity to be like a real brainstorming session of how you solve these challenges, where it sort of just turned out it went in one direction. And it was not disappointing, but like it could have been so much more. It could have been so much more engaging, to have a bunch of sales leaders all together to brainstorm a problem that didn't necessarily have an easy answer, right? And that's what I love about SaaS Sales.io. We're talking about things that maybe sometimes we don't always talk about. Like, I loved that you let me do that article on why you need more women on your sales team, right? That's one of these topics that most people don't talk about, right? And so it meant a lot to me. And that's why one of the reasons why I wanted to have you come on is because, who out there is bold enough to talk about the things that, need to be talked about within the sales community, whether that's video prospecting and what actually works and what doesn't, whether that's RevOps and how that actually works, sales operations. I just love the variety of content.
Exactly, right? So, and we pick real problems, right? No fluff. Like, for example, Jerry's article is going to be published for the 15th, right? So we launch 15th of every month. And this time we picked a least interesting topic for SEO, but a very good topic for most of the sales leaders and early stage founders as well, right? Which is, hey, should VP of sales carry an individual sales quota or not, right? So many of them don't give a straight answer for that at all, right? So a person that I personally appreciate is Jason Lemkin, right? So if you see some of his content, right, it's just 2 paragraphs, right? And he doesn't care about SEO. He just wants his opinion out. He just wants his voice out, right? So that in fact, like, that inspired me to an extent as well, right? But the one problem there is just he pretty much writes only his thoughts out. But here it's like more of like, I want a consolidation of thoughts, right? Rather than just one person voicing out the opinion, right? And this topic pretty much is exciting because, like, most founders and CEOs, they think that, hey, you know what? The moment I hire a sales leader, I just need to give them a quota, and they need to figure it out, right, by themselves, and they need to be the individual performer as well, right? That's not wrong, not completely wrong. Many of the comments there would have told pretty much the same thing as well. right? But my single perspective is that what are the things that you should be aware of, right, before you do that, right? Are you letting your sales leader build for 10x, or focus on the 1x for every month, right? So
Yeah.
are content really talking about this, right? Or are we just like pumping in words just for the sake of SEO?
Yeah, no. I hear you 100%, especially on that topic. I'm actually in a VP of sales course, right? And so they suggest, that if you're going to do that coach player thing, right, that it's a short-term thing.
Yeah.
But I also believe that to really coach and lead your team, you have to have that knowledge of what it's like to sell the product and really understand the sales cycle and what that sales cycle looks like and how it impacts the salespeople, right? So I think that's super important and a really good topic. I can't wait to read that article. Catherine has a really made a comment here: 10x versus 1x, great perspective, and I really agree with that. That's pretty amazing. Now I do have a surprise guest.
Oh,
I don't know that he's sharing his camera, but I could put him in the room and see what happens. Jed, are you ready to join us? Oh, maybe not. We'll give him a second here. Oh, he might be having some technical difficulty. So we'll give him another shot in a little while.
sure.
I had asked you, one thing I was starting in the new year was bringing on surprise guests. And I love that Jed was willing to come on because I noticed that he was our newest premium author. And I thought, that is amazing. So tell me, as Jed, right, is an SDR, not a sales leader, what made you pick him to be one of the premium authors for SaaS Sales IO? Because I really love it. I'm, a big SDR advocate. And so I want to explore that.
Sure. So after COVID hit, right? So I don't want to sound negative, but after COVID hit, the biggest thing, right? That's top of the mind problem, right? For many sales leaders that many don't want to talk about is pipeline, right? Prospecting, right? But people still stress on the fact of closing, right? Hey, just close the deals that you have, right? So how can somebody close the deal that they have if there's no air cover, right? At that time, I was like looking for people who can genuinely share awesome content on prospecting, right? So the real content, no fluff, right? So Sarah from Gong, right? So she shares some amazing content on like specifically to prospecting, how to initiate a cold call, right? And there I found Jed, right? So like I was telling you a little while before that, hey, if people are writing great content, I will find them and request them to write for us, right? So there, I looked at his Substack like set of content, and then I looked into each of the content, right? That was an experience, right? That was an experience. That was a validation, right? There was little to no opinions, right? There was no bias, right? And he was trying to see experiment on things, right, that were working for him, and he consolidated all of that and presented to the readers, right? That is real content, right? So like, let's say, for example, I take an SEO tool online and just put that content there. It'll rank least for me, right? Today, it'll rank least for me. But if I read through that content and if I see, will it have any meaning that I can take home, that content is 100%. Okay? So that is why I requested Jed, hey, you know what? Can you write on a really interesting I suggested a topic, right? And then he was like, you know what? That's great. Let's go for it. And I would like to keep the topic like confidential until the launch because it's a really interesting topic, right? And after I read his draft, right, that was very, very interesting, right? Because he has shared real opinions, right? He has shared the real learnings. He has shared the real challenges, right? And all of that were great. And so I requested, hey, why don't you just write continuously for us? It's just one article every month and become a premium author. And he agreed. And that was a great moment for me.
Yeah, no. And I'm, ironically, you're in India, right? So it's what time is it there?
It's close to 10:45.
Yeah. So, and ironically, Jed and I are like 30 minutes away from each other.
Oh,
Like he's over in St. Pete, and like I could drive to him, but you're in India. So I thought that was kind of funny. Let me try to add Jed again. Jen,
sure.
you've got to share your camera and you've got to share your microphone. But let's give this a shot. Jed, are you there?
Hey, Jed. I'm excited to meet you, man.
No, doesn't look like. Oh well. We'll have him have his own episode sometime then.
Sure.
So
And I just saw Akshaya's comment, right? So yeah, she found him, right? She was the person who recommended Jet to me. Like she also keeps a watch of like quality people just sharing content, and I was like really excited, right? The moment I saw Jet. So kudos, Akshaya, great work.
yeah, and I've actually been following Jed for a while, as an SDR leader, and just someone who's very, an SDR advocate. I've done some videos about how, when the pandemic started, the SDRs were the first to go, but yet they're the most important because they're the ones who grow the pipeline, right?
Yes.
And it's amazing to me that a lot of organizations don't see the value in that, like there is, without opening the door, you can't close a sale.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely crucial. Let me try Jed one more time. Jed, you're here.
Hey, nice to meet you, Jed.
Oh,
now you have to unmute yourself.
You have to unmute yourself.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
You're here. We're so happy to see you.
Yeah. Sorry, I was having some troubles with my internet, but I think we're good to go now.
It's great. We're happy to have you. We were talking about you a lot. I don't know if you heard all that.
I did hear some of it. Yeah, I appreciate the kind words. It's nice.
So
super excited to be here.
So tell us, what does content without bias or fluff mean to you?
Yeah, well, for me, like when I'm writing, I just try to think about things that I'm running into in my day-to-day job as an SDR. You know what I mean? And so just like I'll just jot down notes throughout the day. Like maybe I had somebody hang up on me and it was kind of a weird situation. You know what I mean? And then at the end of the day, I try to come back to those instances that came out throughout the day, and whatever I can, share. Oh, looks like I'm having internet issues.
Okay. It looks like some people are actually also having some issues on LinkedIn Live as well. So hopefully everyone could eventually see this. It looks like Jed is not able to share with us. That's unfortunate. Oh, let me try one more time. There you are. Oh, Jed, can you hear us? No. All righty. Well, we'll have to give him another opportunity before the end. So tell me, I noticed that you guys are growing to include like spin selling and some of the other methodologies. And so tell me about that.
Sure. Yeah. So I think it's the awesome team of volunteers, right? So who actually came together, right? And then is helping the community, right? So Akshaya Chandramouli, Akshaya Sampath, right? Kirtan, and then Abhishek. So all of them, right? What they're trying to do is like make sure to coach people on the real tactical stuff that will help them close deals, right? Or build an amazing pipeline. So, and spin selling seems to be one of that. And we'll come up with more other methodologies, right? So we'll come up with need selling, right? And MedPick, right? So David Weiss has written a great article for us on MedPick as well, right? And all of this is for example, just a real experience again here, right? When I started selling, right, I never knew spin existed. The moment I was trying to grow from an ASP of like $3,000 to an ASP of $30,000, I was like all flustered. I didn't know what to do, right? So because the dynamics were different, right? The motions were different. It was all different, right? And I was trying to like do the traditional method of like learn something and then dump on the prospect, of just give them a demo and then see how it works. But I understood that it's all about asking thoughtful questions and having meaningful conversations, right? That is all spin is about, right?
Yeah.
Asking thoughtful questions and having meaningful conversation, right? But how can you break the tactics down, right? How can you like pump in real examples so that people can take away something rather than just put a page saying that, hey, you know what, we offer spin selling coaching, just click here and pay $50 and then clickbait people, right? That's not what we do. We just make it accessible.
Yeah, and I really loved that part of the website, the content, sort of how it evolved for today, right? Spin selling today. And thought that was really valuable. And I saw the other sections that are like coming out, which I thought was really interesting as well. If you had a favorite methodology, which one would it be?
So I would like, people might throw stones away at me, but the methodology that I'm like I love a lot is MedPick, right? Some people say that, hey, it's really hard to implement MedPick, and there's like a lot of moving pieces. You need to get it right, right? But the real thing is, once people start adopting MedPick, right, then they will see the real value out of it. It's not that hard at all, right? Where you know the series of journey that you're going to lead on the buyer to, right? It's not a process. Like, often what sales leaders confuse is confusing methodology with process, right? They try to take away methodology and put within the CRM and make the salespeople's life miserable, right? Shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Never, right? So exactly. You're making something like you're putting a rule, right? So instead, what I would recommend personally is give them a journey, right? Give them a growth path, right? So where they can use the methodology and see how it's reflecting their buyers in real time, and ask for feedback from the buyers. Maybe this methodology is not built out for your business, so immediately change it. If your buyers are reacting negatively to it, immediately change it, right? Just because you paid a consultant or you paid an agency, right, X amount of dollars, doesn't mean that you got to stick to it, right? So that's why I try to like recommend people to experiment a lot of methodologies and find the right fit for their business.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, and whether it's the methodologies, and I would say not find necessarily the right methodology as much as adapt your methodology to your buyer, right? In some cases, spin is the best way to go, not in all cases, right? And be versatile with which methodology you're using for which type of buyer. And I believe that in prospecting too. Jen could probably speak to this, that the biggest thing in prospecting for me is always be testing and always be trying new things. Jed, why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to speak to your point about being versatile, I mean, you got to understand like the personas you're going after, the industries, the current climate, what's going on with them. So not every prospecting, cold call template, it's not always going to work with every persona. So it's about knowing who you're reaching out to and coming at them with the right approach.
Yeah, and we've got some great comments here from the audience. Glad I decided to attend this event. This is really insightful. Let me try one more time. This is what keeps us salespeople going. It's true. Like for me in sales, like, go ahead, tell me I can't do something. Go ahead and tell me no, because I will certainly change that around. So that's pretty great. So, are you excited about being a premium author, Jed?
Yeah, I am. I'm super excited. When Pradeep's team had reached out to me on LinkedIn, super excited. I love writing. I've been doing it through my Substack and through LinkedIn, but it's cool to reach a new audience and be able to share some of the stuff that I'm, working on with a wider range of people.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you. I was telling Pradeep earlier, you and I are like a half an hour away since you're over in St. Pete. and
Yeah.
Pradeep's over in India, right? So, right, how does that all happen?
Right, right. Yeah, I'm in Tampa right now in Harbor Island, but yeah, I mean, I could give you a quick background, I guess,
Yeah.
of kind of how I came here for sure. I joined PandaDoc right out of high school about a year and a half ago on like a contract. And so I was just doing like lead enrichment and then calling the scrap leads. And then kind of just worked my way up to getting a full-time SDR position after kind of making the most calls on the sales team and just kind of really like white knuckling my way into the position. And so I've been here for the past year. I actually live in Detroit, Michigan now. After COVID, I moved back, but I'm visiting some friends in Tampa at the moment. But I'm always bouncing back and forth between the two states.
Cool. Lydia wanted to know, what's the banner in the background, Jed?
So this one is the Stanley Cup championship for the Lightning. Honestly, don't know what that one is. It's one of my work colleagues' banners, and I honestly couldn't even tell you. It looks like a knight riding a horse, but I'm not sure what it necessarily represents.
Yeah, I don't know either. I know that I stumbled across your profile a while ago, maybe early in the pandemic, and was really intrigued by how much you were posting on LinkedIn as an SDR, and have enjoyed your content. So when I saw the announcement that you were going to be a premium author, I thought that's really cool, because I love the idea that SDRs can write content and that they have a voice and can share, what's working for them and what's not working for them. So what prompted you to do that? Like, what drove you there?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, before even becoming an SDR, I had like a blog where I just liked to write. And then when I became an SDR, it was just kind of a way for me, as far as the writing side of things and sharing content, whether that be through LinkedIn, Substack, and then eventually, become a premium author. I just, similar to you, I like testing different things, and I enjoyed writing, and sales just kind of became my life as an SDR, especially during COVID, working well over 40 hours a week. It was kind of, a lot of it was on my mind, so it was just kind of what I began writing about. And then I just started testing different strategies. It really wasn't until COVID that I started to kind of think outside the box and try different prospecting methods and kind of be open to failing, but just kind of learning out loud, and saying, hey, like, this is things that I'm learning, not necessarily saying it's right or wrong, but hopefully you can learn from it. And so the Substack, the newsletter, kind of started to gain a little bit of traction, I'd say over the past 3 to 4 months, and just spreading it through LinkedIn. And I assume that's how Pradeep and his team had found me. But yeah, it's been super fun, and it helps me just kind of retain that information. And if I'm committing myself to sharing new stuff every week, I better be making sure I'm actually learning new stuff and trying new things. So it's kind of an accountability thing for myself to make sure that I'm actually consistently stepping outside of my comfort zone and trying new prospecting strategies, as opposed to just doing the things that I know are comfortable with and are working.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I love that. Pradeep, we're almost at time. So do you have any final thoughts? I'm glad Jed was able to join us, but really this is about SaaS Sales IO and how much that platform, I think, brings to the sales community, and how honored I am to just, contribute to it, and that you allowed me that opportunity. So final thoughts.
Sure. Final thoughts would be like, thank you to all the readers, right, who have been supporting us, right? So we were able to like grow, right, because of the love from the readers, right? So like we are investing dollars into it, but we don't get a penny. Why? Because we want for you to see real value out of it, right? So that is the major reason why we are building SaaS Sales.io. So if you have any of your colleagues, friends who are like trying to figure out sales leadership, sales management, sales operations, feel free to share the link with them, and pretty much has cool, engaging content and great people writing the content.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, Jed, for joining us. It's always nice to have a surprise guest.
Yeah, thank you, and it's great to meet you, Pradeep, and thanks for having me as a premium author. You guys are awesome, and I've been seeing Sales.io pop up through LinkedIn and everything, so it's super cool to actually be a part of it.
Thank you, Jed. Thanks, Jen.
Of course.
Thank you. So
Thanks,
next week, I've got Jonathan Sorka joining me, and we're going to be talking about networking networks. So all the communities out there, right? I think maybe Pradeep initially found me probably somewhere with Rev Genius,
Yes.
but networking the networks and what that looks like and how that evolves. So I think that's going to be an awesome conversation. Jonathan's a friend. And then I have Ladies Happy Hour, Wednesday, January 27th. And I have a lineup of 8 women joining me to talk about their perspectives, what's going on, to talk about the intentions for the new year, but really to gather some women together and elevate their voices. What I try to do with LinkedIn Live is really share unique perspectives for people you don't typically hear from. So glad that you guys joined me. I'm going to do a quick promo video of a sample of what we did during one of our ladies' happy hours, but some really great advice here in this clip. And we'll see you next week, everybody.
First beginning now. And people say, if I would have known back then what I know now, no, like I had to hit rock bottom for so many reasons. I always say, like, if rock bottom had a basement, I found it. If I had to go through all of that shit to be able to come out on the other side and to look back and say, now I see why it all happened that way. Now I can connect the dots. This is why it happened this way. This was the ripple effect. And I'm stronger for it. And I'm a better mother. And I'm a better career professional. And I'm a better friend, better daughter, better coach, better whatever. Then that's my lesson. So all I can say is just to finish off, and then I promise I'll stop. School gives you the lesson before the test. Life gives you the test before the lesson. And I have no regrets for that.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true.
What a way to wrap it up.